Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Micah. I'll be your astrologer for today. And today we're diving into Midas and Capricorn. We have been diving into the Midas signs throughout, like from Aries, or technically, I think because we have to I have to remake the Aries video from Taurus to Capricorn. And so we're covering Capricorn today. And if you would like to look up the Midas asteroid in your own chart, I do believe it's asteroid 1981. And so you can look that up on AstroSeek or astro.com, I do believe. But a little overview of what Midas is before we get into Midas and Capricorn and some of the fun, light shadow sides, as well as fields and some fun facts about these people. Um, Midas is going to be the golden touch in astrology. It's where you can stand to gain a lot of fame, recognition, even money. But when abused, which is where the shadow side can come in, that's where we can see Midas turn ugly, like it did in the myth of King Midas, where he literally could not eat anything. And he turned his beloved daughter into gold. So the very things that he sentimentally or not even just sentimentally, because food is not necessarily sentimental. I mean, sometimes it is, but but those things were cut off from him in pursuit of all the riches and something very like money focused. And that can be the ugly side of Midas and where it can turn into a curse. And so let's talk a little bit about the shadow side of Midas and Capricorn first, because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and it's a malefic. So let's actually flip this format a little bit and talk about the shadow side of Midas and Capricorn when it's not balanced, essentially. Obviously, with Capricorn, we can see, and obviously this goes for Midas and Capricorn, but we can see a big focus on work. And so um, when it's coupled with Midas, especially um, because Capricorn is very miserly, there are two things that pop out at me first is that one, these people can easily become workaholics and they can sacrifice love, joy, like all the fun things in life for money, success, and status. Status in particular, because Capricorn is an overachiever. It's the overachiever of the zodiac. And one of my very fun, one of my fun facts to tell people that, or not even fun facts, a shower thought to talk to people about is that I'm like, do you ever like realize that we get winter? Winter is the only season that we see twice a year. It's the overachiever of seasons, and Capricorn is the winter solstice. And so, but we can see, yeah, like Midas and Capricorn people becoming these workaholics, or at least having some very severe workaholic tendencies, and sacrificing the more beautiful things in life for that money and status and success. Now the other thing I mentioned is that miserly trait that Capricorn does have, and with Midas, you can only imagine how that turns out. These people definitely can have a fear of being poor, and that really driving their choices, even if they are sitting in a gold mine around them. It's never enough. So greed can definitely, creep in, as well as a lack of integrity. And they can also become very obsessed with like appearances, especially when it has like success like attached to it, or like appearances of success, I guess I should say. And they can also just become very rigid people when it comes to their outlook on life. If it's not bringing them a profit, then they're like, it doesn't really matter. And so they can easily become people that let the number in their bank account define them if that is not if they're not careful about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the light side of Midas and Capricorn, because unlike Midas and Leo or Midas and Sagittarius, Midas and Capricorn is not super flashy. It's going to be very long term, like it's going to be more of like a long term vision, slow burn kind of earner, thinker, taker by storm. But they definitely get their recognition, success, money, all of those things in a very slow, methodical, and practical way. There are definitely people that think very much in that way of like slow and steady wins the race. They're also very determined. It does not matter how long it takes for something to like yield fruit. Actually, I would argue to say that if they were ever to come upon something that yielded fruit too quickly, they might feel like a bit of an imposter. They might feel like they don't actually deserve that thing or that something was done wrong. This is its light side. And so obviously it's like we're going to take a little bit because light can too much light is also out of balance, but um there can be a tendency maybe even to push things away that are given too easily because Capricorn loves to like suffer a little bit. And so but yeah, no, they're definitely people that can turn discipline and hard work into lasting legacy wealth, and they can really build that over a long period of time. They can be working on things for years and it will still yield fruit for years. And they're great with working on those kinds of projects. And they definitely have that more practical golden touch. Like I said, it's not super flashy, and they can dream of like that kind of um, long-term success more so than just kind of like dreaming of riches. But they're going to actually be more the planners that make that real. That is like where they actually get a lot of their recognition and success from, is like that planning of and like that strategizing of how to execute success. They're also very respectful of time, in general, not only the time that they put in, but also the time that other people put in if they have to like hire somebody out to help them. But Saturn is a ruler of time. And so they're going to be very, like I said, they're very long term minded when it comes to how they actually execute that Midas touch. Um, they are going to be some fun facts, I think, for Midas and Capricorn. The first thing that comes up is like lemonade stands as children, because usually these people are going to be the ones that they have a job earlier than anybody else in their family. Like they're like the 5-year old that is selling lemonade on the curbside. It's not unusual to see that with a child that has Midas and Capricorn. They are literally business babies. What is that movie, Boss Baby? That is Midas and Capricorn. They start earning, investing, and working earlier than their peers or even their family. But speaking of family, since we were also talking about legacy, they are very observant. And so they can often be the people in their family that will break like financial generational curses, or like karma, wealth building karma. Um, and they learn to not repeat those same pitfalls. And they can also be people that naturally attract like teachers, whether it be in the form of an actual teacher, a mentor, or like a parent, or even a partner, that teach them a lot about ambition, but especially integrity. A big part of Capricorn is integrity. And then, of course, money. But that is like, those are like central, always going to be central, like teachings that they, one, really cling on to, but also like everybody that kind of is just naturally attracted into their life, they end up talking about those things, or at least the people that they hold to a standard of being authority figures that they respect are going to be people that talk about that with them and really teach them how to nurture those things. Some fields where they excel, I think, the first thing obviously is going to be finance and banking. Corporate leadership and entrepreneurship, I think, is another one. Um, Government and policy, like policy creation, or just like possibly being a politician or some sort of like world leader. Else I could see is maybe like working in luxury goods. Feel like that keeps coming up, but again, because of their like miserly and like very earthy kind of like affiliation, they naturally work in those high payment kind of like fields, or just like working in high end branding, especially the more corporate side of it, where I think like Midas and Taurus might be more like the face of like maybe luxury brands. Midas and Capricorn is going to be the brains behind it. And they can even step into the modeling side of it or being the face of it. These people are very multifaceted. If you give them a job to do, they will excel at it and they just will rock it. Um, Something else I think of, since Capricorn and Saturn both have a lot to do with things that are old, anything having to do with like history. So like historians, Midas and Capricorn would do really well like working in museums, um, ancestral work if we're getting into like some things that are a bit more spiritual in nature. And then like astrology and the occult are also going to be Midas and Capricorn fields where I think that they would do really well in. Um, I don't know if this, actually, no, I think I could see this, because Saturn is so fixated on foundations. Oh my goodness, like the the sunlight in my apartment just went away. I apologize also for for this video. Like technology has not been my friend, and I realize that the lighting is super bad. My ring light is not working. But anyway, back to the video. Just bear with me on this lighting for this video and the video before. But um, like architecture, because Saturn is so much about the foundation and structure of things, I could see them being in architecture and like just like engineering. Maybe that's more like Midas and Aquarius, but like architecture for sure. I could see that. But other than that, that is all I have for Midas in Capricorn. Let me know where your Midas is. Have I covered it already? Is your Midas in Aries, Aquarius, or Pisces? And what are you expecting to hear from that? I would love to hear from you. Please let me know, and I'll do my best to make sure that I'm monitoring the comments so that I can answer any questions that you might have. Other than that, guys, I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.